guys, what's going on? We got a new article today, and we're going to talk about this Harpoon Missile, and we're going to talk about everything else that's coming out for Scum for the Guns for Hire expansion. Let's just dive right into the new stuff that they talked about today. The Harpoon Missile is revealed, and it's caused quite a stir. So let's talk about the Harpoon Missile. So Harpoon Missile, the 2 to 3 range missile, so you can't use it up close. Pretty standard, right? Costs 4, so a little on the expensive side, but not too expensive. You roll 4 attack dice, so it's good. So far, kind of standard. Requires a target lock to attack, but you do not discard the target lock. So already liking this missile. Liking this missile so far. Discard this card to perform the attack. If the attack hits, after the attack resolves, assign the Harpooned condition to the defender. Okay. All right, so you don't have to cancel your dice. You still do your normal attack damage from the Harpoon Missile. So first off, it's a normal 4 dice attack, and you get to apply your damage. You can roll your target lock with the attack, so high chance of hitting. Already, I'm liking it, right? Already totally liking this. And honestly, the first thing I thought of when I saw this, epic play. Epic play with ordnance tubes on your huge ships. I mean, just think about this. You don't have to, because anytime you don't have to spend target lock, well, the huge ship now can just target lock you, attack. Don't have to spend the target lock to perform the attack, so I can perform multiple. Huge ship with like 3 Harpoon missiles equipped, no problem. Just boom, boom, boom. Take a couple of target locks, and so this will be fun for Epic. Every little thing, like so often now, I'm seeing cards that work better in Epic. It's just got me wondering if more cool stuff is coming. So maybe Gen Con's in a few days. Oh my gosh, Gen Con is this weekend. Maybe. All right. So anyway, let's look at the Harpooned condition card. So Harpooned. All right, when you are hit by an attack, if there's at least 1 uncanceled crit result, each other ship at range 1 suffers 1 damage. So friendly and enemy, every other ship. Okay, so again, I'm thinking epic play. You're gonna have a lot more ships. If you can harpoon a huge ship, I mean, your range 1 circle is now huge. But let's Epic is over here. Let's talk about the regular game over here. So normal ships, the larger the ship you can harpoon, the better it looks like. So if you're hit by if you have a harpooned condition, every time you get hit by 1 uncanceled crit, each other ship at range 1 suffers a damage. Then discard this card and receive a face down damage card. Okay. When you're destroyed, each ship at range 1 suffers 1 damage. All right. So again, this is like kind of like the assault missile. You attack somebody with the missile. All right, you hit them. You did your damage. Boom. Now they have harpooned. Now the next time they either get destroyed or get hit with a crit that's uncanceled, everybody around them takes the damage. But again, they're gonna lose it. What I don't know right now is if you can have multiple copies of Harpooned. I don't see, there's no unique thing on here. So what happens if I've got a whole swarm of Z95s, each with Harpoon missiles, trying to bring down an Imperial Raider? Or let's bring it to standard play. So maybe I've got a Chewbacca Falcon, right? Or a Han Solo. Can we all harpoon? Like Han Solo and a couple of Z95s, or Han Solo and 2 X's, or 2 X-Wings, right? Like that, or old Han shoots first. That's what I don't know. I don't, unless I missed just a general ruling about condition cards earlier on. And that's something I got to look up, because if you can have multiple copies of this is really be nice, because that means like 1 crit is going to get through. But there's more to this card. So the action it has is, it also has an action, so you can discard this card, then roll an attack die. If on a hit or crit, you suffer a damage. So basically you can spend your action to pull out the harpoon. I don't know exactly how that works, because you're flying through space. So is it like Luke opens up the X-Wing and uses, well, not Luke. Luke has used the Force. Is like Wedge open up the X-wing, yank out the harpoon, and close it back up again. Just put the mask on. I don't know. I have a hard time imagining my pilots getting out of the cockpit, pulling out the harpoon and getting back in. It's kind of like. Never mind. I don't want to give any Game of Thrones spoilers, but if you saw the last Game of Thrones, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, Harpooned, right? So, Game of Thrones, you know what I'm talking about. All right, let's get back to X-Wing now. Game of Thrones is awesome right now. So Harpooned, pretty cool. A lot of different ways to look at this. Now, some people I think are a little confused right now because some people are thinking it's just a straight up replacement for the assault missile. But I think it's important to point out this distinction is that when somebody fires the Harpoon missile, the harpooned condition is assigned after the attack is resolved. So even if you fire the Harpoon missile and you get 4 crits and they all go through, you're not doing damage to everybody else because that attack has to resolve first, then the harpooned condition gets assigned. I think if you're running these, it helps to have maybe somebody shooting last or somebody who can shoot last, either a low pilot skill or everybody's tied on pilot skill, who can get the crit through. Somebody who reliably gets crits through. So I'm thinking this new missile might see the resurgence of certain EPTs like marksmanship or calculation. That's a possibility. There's definitely some synergy there for your lower pilot skill EPTs to be able to run something like that, and then your higher pilot skills to shoot the harpooned missile first. Plus, it requires a target lock, so you kind of naturally want that on your higher pilot skill pilots, just so they can get it on there, and then your other ones can go ahead and shoot and do all the damage. So I think maybe we'll see some more stuff like that, or just the more pilots who can guarantee crits getting through, like 10 num. Only problem with 10 num specifically is that he's a higher pilot skill. So unless you're running PS9s, doing that, or 10 num perhaps gets adaptability to lower his pilot skill. But if you're running 10 num, you're probably going to want calculation or marksmanship or something like that instead. In his case, I would think calculation or maybe just a mangler cannon. But something like that on 10 num might be really nice. But either way, I wouldn't go with 10 num in this case because he's so high pilot skill. He's probably going to be shooting first. Unless, of course, the condition carries over. But the problem there is if you're counting on the harpooned condition to carry over till next turn, then they can always just take the action and get rid of it. And I mean, who wouldn't? You have a 50% chance not to take any damage. So unless you can deny them the action, unless you're combining it with a stress build. So there's definitely all of that, but that's a whole lot of setup just to try to get at 1 damage to all the nearby ships. And chances are, maybe you'll fly somebody who's got a lone wolf and they're not nearby anybody else, or you're flying against maybe only a 2-ship build or 2 or 3 ship build, and you're really not. This is great against like a swarm or something like that, but it's just not necessarily the greatest thing ever. I think it's cool, but I don't think it's the greatest thing ever. Definitely got some capabilities though. I think a lot of strength in this. If you can have multiple of these on the same ship, like let's say you have 3 harpooned and then your 4th guy gets that crit with calculation or whatever and it goes through, then all of a sudden, can that crit now trigger harpoon 3 different times? Boom, 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 I just killed all the TIE fighters, right? That has potential to be cool. Not sure the ship would even survive that long to begin with, though, because the first harpoon missile hits, then the second harpoon missile hits, and you're trying to get like a 3rd harpoon missile to hit on the same person. Probably going to be dead by then anyway, unless maybe it's a decimator, decimator with a couple of ties. But then the second harpoon missile is gonna, if it's got the crit, it's gonna trigger the effect and. And if you get the crit, then it triggers that, then you're just doing overriding one after the other. So that's another way to do this is if the ruling is you can only have 1 condition, and I know I really should know this before making this video, but that's kind of the interaction with you guys. Then basically you just chain it then and go marksmanship calculation or something like that. All right, I'm triggering this harpoon, because again, the condition will get assigned after. So if you've got harpooned, I shoot you, we get the crit, everybody takes a damage, your harpooned condition goes away. Now that attack is resolved, here's your new harpooned condition, and you can chain that. That would be kind of cool. So that's Harpooned. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it could be a very fun card to run a couple of them too. And I think really there's a lot of fun stuff to do with Epic with Harpooned. I really love the idea of a huge ship just shooting out harpoons, like, because they get to do those over and over and over again. It's so freaking awesome. It's like somebody needs to come up with like a modified, like a modified raider with a whole bunch of like toothpicks, like paint, stuck to it, so like they're sticking out. So they're just launching these giant spears at the end. It's like something out of Mad Max. Let's talk about, we got a new pilot we need to talk about too. So let's talk about Captain Jostero. Captain Jostero is the new Kirax pilot. Now he does have an EPT, which kind of works with this, right? You need EPT helps you do a better job if you're using a lot of these Harpooned missiles. He's also a lower pilot skill. He's a pilot skill 4, which again works pretty well. So Captain Jostero's got an ability that just synergizes perfectly with this. Once per round, after an enemy ship that is not defending against an attack suffers damage or critical damage, you may perform an attack against that ship. Now, once per round. So again, you can't just get infinite attacks this way, but once per round is really nice. So naturally, this has synergy with the Harpooned condition. So if he, here's a guy, maybe you want to give him marksmanship. I think marksmanship is a really, really good EPT for this guy. So, because if he's I like marksmanship on anybody who can attack multiple times. But here is an example of somebody who can attack multiple times in a round and really wants the crit. So he attacks you, he gets a crit, and maybe, does the focuses stuff, so he's got a crit hit. He manages to get the crit damage through, everybody else takes damage, now he can perform another attack, and by the way, he's got marksmanship for that attack as well. Very cool. I'm like it. And another thing that's kind of cool about it is this says you may perform an attack against that ship, so it doesn't have to be a primary weapon attack. So if he wanted to, let's say you've got Biggs and some other ships, right? Let's say Biggs is already harpooned by somebody else on my squad. I could then, in theory, attack Biggs, trigger the crit on Biggs, get a free attack on somebody else, but maybe now if I have target lock on them, now I fire a Harpoon Missile at somebody else. Granted, it's not necessarily the best idea. I think in the case of Biggs, you probably want your Harpoon Missile on Biggs, so this way you can trigger damage on everyone else. But Jostero's cool. Now, there are other times, you're not only going to be able to use him with Harpoon Missile, even though that's the most likely thing. There's other things that can cause people to take damage without attacking. So obstacles, right? Obstacles is a chance that somebody's going to hit an obstacle, take a damage from that. And there you go. So he can influence your obstacle placement. There's other ships that can do damage to themselves. So one of my favorites, Quick Draw with Electronic Baffle, right? So Electronic Baffle, awesome ability. When you receive a stress token or an ion token, you can suffer damage to discard that token. It's not like everybody's using Electronic Baffle, but I really like the card. But if, for example, if you use that, it could also trigger him. So things like that you can force yourself to take damage to do something else. He can counter that, and there's always that's a type of mechanic that you can always see in other things, or any type of. There's other cards that can make you take damage not from an attack. Now, what about Quick Draw? Quick Draw also gets to shoot when a ship, but only him, loses a shield. So who shoots first, right? Well, in case you're wondering, this was something I thought about when I first saw this pilot. I'm like, well, what happens if Quick Draw takes the damage with Electronic Baffle? Who shoots first? Well, and I think the answer lies in the timing and the way it's written, because Quick Draw will say, he says, once per round when you lose a shield token, you may perform a primary weapon attack. So, and I think if you compare, it says when you lose a shield token, as opposed to the after on Captain Jostero is after an enemy ship suffers the damage or critical damage. So when you lose a shield token, I can perform a primary attack. Okay, now after, that's when Jostero. So I think Quick Draw would shoot first. If you disagree with that, feel free to let me know, but I hope you at least understand my reasoning. When you lose a shield token, after you suffer the damage. So there is that. I think Jostero's cool. I don't think he's super overpowered because yes, he's a 3 attack ship that can attack multiple times, but he's a low pilot skill, so that kind of limits his overall threat. But he's also not something that's going to be able to trigger all the time. He's kind of situational. You would either A, have to build a list specifically designed around his ability, and if you're including him, you're probably going to have Harpoon missiles or something like that to cause damage to nearby ships, or maybe seismic torpedoes or things like that. And B, he's also potentially got some soft counters to certain other mechanics, things like quick draw. He's got some soft counter things you're not going to see in every list, but I like him. I like that he's got he's double-edged. He can work with your mechanics of your list, and he can also potentially counter or be a deterrent for other people doing that. Now granted, he does have to have arc on them, so if I'm quick draw, I'm just going to try to stay out of his firing arc, and I won't take my damage if he's there to shoot at me, or if I just think that I can shoot at him. I do think that he has to survive in order to take that shot. Unless, of course, it's a case where there's the same pilot skill. Of course, he's not going to be the same pilot skill as quick draw. Unless, of course, they both have the crit on them that makes them pilot skill 0, then in which case then they could. Very, very unlikely something like that's going to happen, though. So, yeah, that's this stuff, guys. Let's talk about these upgrades. What are you more excited about, Jostero or the Harpoon Missile? I'm guessing the Harpoon Missile. It seems like it's the meat and potatoes of this article. But yes, guns for hire. I imagine they will have it for sale at Gen Con. I know some people are already setting up at Gen Con. If you are going to be there, let me know. I wish I could be there. I'm not going to be able to make it this year. Next year, I am planning to go. I'm going to try. I'm definitely going to try. So, want to definitely go. Get some early access stuff. Maybe play some X-Wing and Armada. Maybe try some all new games too. Gen Con's going to be exciting. All right, guys, that's about all I've got for you today. If you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed. Leave a comment. You're automatically entered to win the Ray with Speeder Star Wars Celebration 2017 exclusive pop. And that's all you need to do to enter. You just have to be a subscriber and leave me a message. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think of Harpooned. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.